Hello, Jyotika. How are you?
Hello, Nina.
Nice to see you.
Oh,
Morning, Jyotika.
Morning, Sarah.
Alberto, Mai, everyone.
Hi, Sarah. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Alberto. Morning.
Hi, Alberto.
Hi.
Hello.
Ajahn, are you here now?
สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะอาจารย์อาจารย์
Would anyone like to start today? Nina, have you got any topic you'd like to bring
I
up?
have a
Or
topic,
anyone?
yes, because the French translator who translated my book, The Buddha's Path, into French, had a good point, and I think many people may think the same. He thinks that first one should know kusala and akusala. And he did not understand why I said that the aim of the Buddha's teaching is not to be a better person, but understanding what is conditioned. And it doesn't matter, it can be kusala or akusala, but it's the most important to understand that are just conditioned realities. And it is a good topic if Ajahn can elaborate a little bit on this.
Akusala is real. It's a reality, right? But when there is moment of kusala, I think that most people know that it's akusala, but not understanding it as not no one at all.
Yes. They don't realize it's so fast, and immediately they alternate so fast. So they confuse kusala and akusala. So it's better not to try to find out whether this is kusala and this is akusala, because it's already gone.
I think that even we understand intellectually about this moment that is not permanent at all. But if there's no understanding of a reality at a time, how can there be the understanding of that particular one arises and falls away? That's why before there can be the direct understanding of the impermanence of whatever is now arising and falling away, if there's no understanding of each different one, how can there be the understanding of what arises and what falls away? That's why just learn to understand what is there when it appears as the object, not just thinking, but the reality which is there is no one at all. It has its own characteristic, but it's not known as just a reality which has its function, its characteristic, condition to just arise, perform its function, and then gone. That's why learning to understand what is there. We can say that it's seeing, but what is seeing? We can say that it's seeing, and when there's no understanding thoroughly about what is it in truth, there must be the idea of I see, for sure, anytime, until there is the understanding, even intellectually, that it cannot be anyone at all because it's conditioned to arise. As soon as it has risen, it falls away instantly. So how can it be anyone or anything because it's completely, absolutely gone? And now seeing, the seeing now is not the seeing just a moment ago. Learn to understand the truth of what is there one by one until there can be a moment of being aware by conditions with understanding that this is to be known. This understanding of its nature as no one just arises and falls away is that this very moment when it's there to be known. Otherwise, it cannot be known. Moment when it arises and it falls away because it's there right now. Very subtle, but the truth is that seeing is not hearing, is not thinking. 6 ways, different. from time to time, from life to life, from eons up to now. The truth is that which appears through 6 star ways to be known when it's there. Otherwise, it's just imagining, thinking about that. But what about now? It's there to be known, whether it's true or not. No one has anything to do at all because it's there already. It's there and gone already. That's why to have firm confidence of the truth is that which is now appearing can condition moment of attending to that characteristic. And when there's more understanding, it is aware of the characteristic which cannot be taken for anything at all, because what is there is just there. Seeing is just seeing. It's not manasikara or vitaka or whatever word we have learned, but it's there, performing its function anytime to be known, little by little, intellectually, until it can condition moment of directly begin to understand that the truth is there just right now. What is there? It's the truth. It can be known and it's gone. But when there's not enough understanding of the reality one by one, which is different, how can that which is taken for something permanent be gone? Because it's not true. The truth is that it's not there anymore, even right now. But what is there has to be known as it is, that which sees only that. It takes quite a long time to be acquainted to the characteristic which cannot be taken for anyone or anything at all, and begin to understand the subtle meaning, the deep meaning of no one. So what is meant by the world? No world, when there's nothing arising at all. But when whatever arises, the world is there, because it's there to be known as it's there one doorway at a time, 6 doorways together. So it is taken for something permanent without understanding each different one as no one and nothing at all. Just hearing, considering, to have condition for directly understanding what is there, as it's only that very moment when it's there to be known. That's all. It takes time. Khanti barami, viriya barami, satya barami, adidana barami, nekkhamma barami. Otherwise, there cannot be the understanding of who's the Buddha and what's the teaching about. Think that it's something like 40 Dhamma and so on. But what about now? It's there. It's there, can be known little by little. What is there? What are there from moment to moment? Little by little. The truth is so close, not far away at all. It's for a moment. It's gone. It doesn't matter what is there now. It's there. But anything which is there, appearing, can be object of understanding the truth of it. And this is a subtle path to let go the idea of self and ignorance, having been accumulated long ago, eons and eons. So how can it be let go instantly or shortly after hearing it? And the test we use to understand what is meant, this moment, how much understanding of the characteristic which is not self, which arises and which sees. Daily life, anything right now. How much understanding can be known just right now. And if it's not carefully studied that can be conditioned for misunderstanding. It seems like the teachings of the Buddha is so very easy. Just hear and then do something. But what about the understanding? When there is the idea of to do something, is there any understanding of Dhamma, Anatta? No one at all. And what is there? When there's no understanding, as usually it is I, because of not understanding the truth of what is there as it is. It's gone. Hearing again and again and again, who know the function of each cetasika arising, performing its function right now from moment to moment to develop the understanding little by little. And this is a subtle path leading to let go what is there. So very, very subtle, very deep. That's why right understanding only can begin to understand the depth of whatever is there, little by little. To be just one moment of understanding, one reality at a time. From hearing, seeing is not hearing, it's not thinking, it's so true. And what is there? No one. So what is that? The reality which arises to experience. Who can change the characteristic of the reality, which is there, conditioned to arise to experience? What is there now? That's why we learn to understand. In truth, what is it? We take for seeing. It's the moment of experiencing an object, not at will, but by conditions. No other way, no other path. Just considering what is there. Little by little. Is there so close right now? So when will it be the object of direct awareness with understanding? Without understanding, there cannot be direct awareness of the truth at all. How come to have such understanding without hearing again and again and again and have more confidence of the truth? Satya Parami and Adidana Parami. Viriya Parami, see, at moment of getting angry, is there any parami? The test is there. Not yet, but the more understanding of the nature of that which is now appearing can condition instantly, suddenly, anatta. What is there is conditioned. Not knowing before, no expectation at all. Otherwise, it's I. So very subtle. Thinking about the time of Buddha, people became enlightened naturally, unexpectedly, like Sariputta, Moggallana, Visakha, and so on. Because right understanding is there. When one has learned about it, and when there can be moment of hearing about it again, a little more understanding, better than none at all, when there is no hearing about it. So now we are talking about the truth of what is there as usual. Before hearing it, no considering, no understanding the truth. But after hearing about it, considering the truth, it's there already, seeing while one is talking. There's seeing, how come? But no understanding of the difference between seeing and hearing and thinking. So how can there be the letting go attached to the object as something? Because they are together, seeing and hearing. Who can divide, who can separate it? Who can distinguish it? Right understanding develops little by little. And these are the words of the Buddha, no matter in what text, sutta or Abhidhamma. What is heard unexpectedly and then gone. No one there at all. But the wrong sanya is so very, very, very accumulated. No understanding. So it's real. It's not the moment of being aware with understanding. It's just that which appears. And that cannot be, that cannot experience anything. And at moment of sound appears, there must be the reality which experiences it, so it can appear. Do we have to go somewhere to understand what is there as it is right then, right now?
And Ajahn, you mentioned the sound appearing unexpectedly, and at that time I could hear bird noises coming from someone's microphone. I don't know who it is, but it's pleasant enough. But when we hear that noise, we immediately have the idea of birds chirping. And you mentioned wrong sanya, of course, because it's agusala. And I think your point is that the wrong sanya means sanya with agusala citta, not because there's an idea of a bird or something like that, but because it's agusala. Would that be correct, Ajahn?
Atta sanya is sanya of something there. The sound of bird, the sound is the bird, but actually sound is sound, and that can be heard is only sound, not bird.
So just knowing or attaching a label to the kind of sound is not, though, the same as something there, or is it?
You have confidence of the truth that sound is sound. That's all. And thinking is thinking. And memory is there, taking that sound for bird. All are there, no one, no thing. All conditioned moment, conditioned realities arising and then falling away instantly. When there is the understanding of the truth, the absolute truth, it conditions firm confidence of the truth. That since it's there, it can be realized, it can be understood as it is. It's gone, see. The bird is gone, or the sound is gone, or what is gone.
What about when there's hearing of words spoken and there's thinking about the meaning of the words?
That's why we learn to understand one citta at a time, only one. And seeing is not moment of thinking, or not moment of citta which arises after it.
But do we say that's wrong sanya also, Ajahn? Understanding the meaning of words spoken, is that wrong sanya? Or...
So we learn to understand what is true, absolute truth, and what is not true. Sound is true, or a bird is true. Is the sound bird? Or the sound is sound? No bird in it.
Yes, I'm asking about words, the meaning of words.
So what about the Sanya Vipalasa? All kinds of Vipalasa. Taking that which is not permanent as permanent. That is Sukha, not Sukha. That it's not beautiful as it's so beautiful. And beautiful here that it attracts attention and clinging to it.
I'm just trying to understand the difference between moments with Atta Sanya and moments
So that's why
that are not Atta Sanya, but just Sanya.
with Kusla Chitta, but not Vipaka, which is seeing, Sampatichana, and Sandhya, and so on. That's why we learn to understand different moments, each different moment, to be sure, to have more confidence that it cannot be taken for anything permanent at all. Life is just the arising and falling away experience is what is said through the 6 levels, life after life, moment after moment. Nobody can change conditions for what arises at all. So now it's time to hear. Who can stop hearing to arise? And not understanding the truth that it's not there anymore. Sanya Vipalasa, that which is not permanent, it seems permanent because not thinking about moment when it's not there anymore. Each moment different by conditions and gone. So true, but the understanding of the truth is not firm enough. And when it's not firm, there can be condition for other thought, other idea, doing something which is not the right path as is the right path. That's why there has to be very firm confidence of the truth, that the truth is there now. And it can be known. But what about that which we try to get it, try to go somewhere to find it? No understanding of what is there now. So what is meant by understanding? If we cannot understand this real moment as it is, that's why there has to be the first stage of understanding the truth, intellectually firm enough, tira sanya, which is a condition for moment of being aware with understanding. Even it just begins, it knows that it has to be that which is now appearing only. And then closer than that, it's gone. And there is another different one, little by little. Until all 5 khandhas are known as no one there at all. It's that which arises and falls away, never to return. A moment of 5 khandhas. Learn to understand each khandha as it is. To understand that actually, how can it be taken for thing or people? Because it's gone. As soon as it has arisen, it's gone. Like now. The truth is so true, but right understanding is not firm enough to let go. The accumulation of ignorance and attachment. That's why understanding the words of the enlightened one, it cannot be changed at all because it appears as it is, but not enough understanding that it's the point. So only understanding can understand whatever is there as it is. It begins this moment, it's gone. So true. Next moment, it's not the previous moment. And hearing, considering, understanding, even just little by little, can condition moment of strong understanding to let go what is taken for self, even it has been accumulated years and years, little by little. Begin to understand what is meant by Dhamma. And how many different kinds of Dhamma they are in the day, all there, moment to moment. Moment of seeing, moment of thinking, they are there to be known as they are one by one. That's why learn from intellectual level to understand the truth. And that is parami, which will condition the way of parami along, on and on and on, unexpectedly to experience the object with understanding and expectation. Unexpected. It has to be up. Like we heard the word from Tipitaka. So it means different moments of understanding. It pops up, but no understanding. That's why it's so true that it can be known of its truth, but it takes time and patience to let go ignorance. Otherwise, there cannot be realization of the truth because ignorance covers up everything. Not understanding it now, but there can be the development of understanding little by little. So how much patience it takes from life to life. So this life is the life of parami. We carry on until one day it's there by condition, unexpectedly, amazingly. How come? And understanding is understanding. Ignorance is ignorance. Attachment is attachment. Who knows in a day? Different kinds of Dhamma, different Jetasikas. Mana Cetasika, Viriya Cetasika, Vipassana Cetasika. I would have taught for 45 years in details for every life, no matter what life is there. To understand what has been accumulated for different ones, to be different from moment to moment. So in truth, it's the world of realities, absolute realities only. Without absolute realities, how can they be this moment? Hearing, thinking, liking, disliking, hardness, softness, sound, smell. And that which was there in the morning, where are they now? Never to return. It goes on, rolls on by conditions, ignorance or understanding, akusala or akusala, by conditions. And then die. Cannot be this person anymore. Cannot remember what were long time ago in life from birth. Just understand the truth, that's all. And Dhamma develops by itself, by its function. No matter what we are talking about, no matter what happened in a day, there can be right understanding of each reality, little by little. Otherwise, there's no understanding of the truth at all in this life from birth to death. So it's time to have more confidence of the truth. And we try so much now, not understanding the truth of what is there, but right understanding begins to develop at moment of understanding. And this is parami. Without understanding, no parami at all. Is there anyone? Or only seeing, hearing, thinking, considering? Taken for eye. In truth, they are only different realities by conditions. And this is life, with ignorance or with right understanding. So right understanding is quite different from ignorance. That's why we can learn just one word to understand the truth deeper and clearly. Like Dhamma, no one, no thing, different characteristic, different function, never lasts at all. And now there is something experienced, no understanding of the truth. That's why hearing, considering the truth of it from the Buddha's word, who has enlightened the truth and developed the understanding little by little of each one as it is. That's the way to understand whatever is there in life from moment to moment, as it truly is. There is feeling right now. There is memory for sure right now. And there is whatever is there as we take for I like, dislike, and so on. And rupa, that which is experienced, smell, taste, touch. The truth of what is there, which has been hidden quite a long time, can be object of understanding from hearing and considering to realize the truth. Otherwise, it's useless just to talk about the impermanence of this and that, never to understand the truth. That's why each word, when it's so true about its truth, that can be known. Otherwise, there's no enlightened one as Buddha. So we can talk about any reality. It's a truth to be understood, how deep it is, how subtle it is, but it can be understood little by little until it appears as no one at all directly right now. So now it's the way developed on and on to understand the depth of what is there now. So deep and so far, but it can getting closer and closer to understand what is there now, little by little, by conditions. So life continue on as being conditioned, according to conditions, to be known as what has accumulated. And what has been accumulated. Attachment, ignorance, or a little more of understanding the truth of what is there now. That can be learned because it's there. And we talk about what is there as it is. The reality which experiences an object. So we say seeing. It's that reality which is conditioned just to arise with seeing and then gone. Is that not right understanding about that very moment of seeing? We don't have to find the right understanding somewhere else. It's just of that which is there now, to be known, to be considered, to be developed, to be enrooted, to be implanted. That it can be known and it's there from life to life, from moment to moment. Understanding is just that which is now appearing. Until then, as is there, hardness, seeing, thinking. And what we are saying, talking about, does not waste or forgotten or no worth or no use at all. It's moment of understanding, developing by conditions to understand what is there little by little. To be reminded when it's there by conditions. We have heard a lot about it, but what about hardness now? Ready to be understood? Or not yet, by conditions. Understand the truth of anattanas and conditions. Is that right? To understand what is right and what is wrong. And that is panya. No one there at all. So when we talk about our reality to be understood a little more clearer and clearer, to let go the idea of self.
And I think as Nina said at the, sorry, I think as Nina said at the start, it's so common for people to just be interested to learn about kusala and akusala, and behind it is the idea of being a better person, and it leads to judging of others too because of the strong clinging to self. But without the understanding, as you've been discussing it in detail, Ajahn, of all kinds of different realities, such as the seeing now, what is seen, the different kinds of namas, the different kinds of rupas. It's impossible to give up the idea of self. It's impossible to understand that there are just dhammas, and there is a kind of selection when there is the idea of just knowing kusala and akusala, because it's not the understanding of just what appears now as dhamma. But I think it's very common, very natural that it's like that because of the strong clinging to the self, wishing to be a good person, trying to know what is one's kusala or what is one's akusala, but it's not the study of Dhamma.
That's a good point, as a kind of selection to want to know what is kusala and akusala. Yeah, that occurs very often, I think.
No interest at all in understanding what is seen right now, or what is heard right now, or what is touched right now, just wanting to find out the kusala or akusala. So actually that it is the utter sanya at those moments, clinging to self, trying to catch, trying to know what is kusala and akusala.
Yeah, yeah. And forgetting about conditions, that it is conditioned already, whatever appears.
Right. Even those moments of thinking or wishing to have more kusala, it's conditioned, it's like that. It can be understood too, that kind of wishing or idea of my kusala, my akusala, even those moments of thinking can be understood. If the ditthya isn't understood when it appears, it can never be known, it can never be eradicated. So that's why it has to be so natural to understand even at those moments what appears. And it's all now, even now, bound to be moments of wishing for understanding or moments of annoyance or clinging to self in different ways, different moments of utter sanya all the time, something that's seen, something that's heard. So it's daily life. That's why it's useless to think of another time, another place, because there can be understanding right now of all these different dhammas we're discussing. And I think it was a good point Ajahn made at the beginning, like we can say, well, the kusala, akusala, it's all gone, never to return. But it's just thinking about the impermanence of realities. It's not the understanding of the arising and falling away of the hardness now or the visible object now. And if there's no understanding now of what appears, the hardness, the touching, the seeing, the visible object, there can never be the understanding of the arising and falling away of those realities.
But that's the development of panya. It's very difficult to get that, but we shouldn't say it's very difficult because it has to develop naturally.
And at least I think it's good that the friend you mentioned has such interest. And as you say, the understanding has to develop little by little. And it's no good just saying to someone, oh, instead of talking about kusala or akusala, we need to be talking about seeing an invisible object now, because people don't see the point. So everyone has to understand what is the value of understanding what is seen now in order for there to be the interest in developing that understanding.
And it's a good point that Ajahn always talks about seeing now, like the Buddha, because the Buddha also asked all the time, is seeing permanent or impermanent? But we don't get it permanent or impermanent because we still think it's lasting some moments. So it's very not easy to get the meaning of impermanence.
The point of mentioning it and discussing is for to consider, because we're so used to thinking of the seeing as lasting, like you say, several moments or longer. But at this moment, how brief is seeing that's gone immediately? And can that which falls away immediately, can it be utter? Can it be long to anyone? Actually, it's just a Dhamma that's gone instantly. So this is what the Buddha taught and what has to be understood now. Otherwise, there's always the idea of oneself and one's kusala and one's akusala and so on. So there has to be the understanding and the interest in the value of appreciating that dhammas are anatta from the very beginning.
It's good that Ajahn always asked from the very beginning, not waiting.
Otherwise, it's the wrong way right from the start.
Yeah.
If there's the idea of selecting an object, then it's the wrong path immediately. So no use in reading or talking about the Buddha's teachings when one's just got the idea of following the wrong path from the start, following a practice, choosing an object, trying to have more kusala.
Yeah.
Can't be the way.
But I think when Ajahn says it has to be kusala from the beginning, of course, she's not suggesting that having kusala is something that can be done. So I think the meaning is this: it doesn't begin unless and until there is kusala, and so on and so forth. So only the moments of kusala count as development of the path, right? There can be lots of thinking about the Dhamma, but only the moments that are kusala will qualify as useful consideration. But we don't have to think about which are the kusala moments and which are the akusala moments, because it all happens too quickly for anyone to be able to tell one from the other. But yes, I think, Nina, you'd like to be able to tell one from the other. Of course, that would be nice, but that also requires a kind of understanding, but not the same understanding as the understanding that knows realities as they truly are.
And so fast, it's too fast, impossible to catch what is kusala, what is akusala.
Yes, but if I think the speed of is like seeing is just as fast as moments of kusala, but because it arises so much, then it can be the object of awareness, even though there's not the catching of individual moments of seeing consciousness. That's the same with kusala and akusala. So if it's arising at the present moment, it doesn't have to be the only reality that's arising, or it doesn't have to be all kusala moments, but if there are some proportion of kusala moments among the akusala, or vice versa, either can be the object of awareness or of some level of understanding.
I heard the expression that Panya doesn't mind whether it's kusala or akusala, because we shouldn't mind so much.
The function of Panya is to understand the true nature of something that is appearing at the present moment. So in that sense, any understanding of true nature is helpful in developing the right view and putting down or getting rid of wrong view over time. So it's all helpful, regardless of what is the object.
Minding is a kind of clinging. So when there's understanding, there's no clinging. no clinging to what is understood.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of minding. Yes.
Oh, well, minding is a kind of selection too, isn't it? One minds if it's this object and not that object, or one minds that one can't understand such and such a reality or quality. It's just an aspect of what we talk about as being selection. But I suppose there's a tendency to think that it should be possible to understand the difference between kusala and akusala if one's interest is in understanding realities, then that seems to be something that would be, it seems to us to be something that should be a precondition, a prerequisite, shall we say, but apparently not. Is that your point, Nina? Sorry, we're not able to hear you, Nina.
The most important, more important than knowing this is kusala and akusala, more important is there are all conditions beyond any control. A secret tendency wishing to control is there.
And like we read, a finger snap of insight into reality is more precious than all the metta, all the generosity, all the goodness, because it's the highest goodness.
Yes, and the sutta, yeah.
Yes.
One more of impermanence, reality.
Understanding of impermanence of reality. More precious than all the metta, all the generosity, all the
really,
greatness, yes. All the jhana attainments, yes.
John, you mentioned about atasanya and listening to the words and understanding the meaning of the words. I think this can be true at the level of intellectual understanding, but if when understanding the teachings at the intellectual level, as the meaning of the words and etc. But when there is the direct understanding, I don't think there is any need for thinking about the words in terms of meaning of the words or anything like that. It should be more like understanding the characteristic of a single reality, regardless of how it is called or its name or its conceptual meaning. I think Not sure if I make myself clear.
Well, thanks, Alberto, and firstly, congratulations on the good quality of the audio coming from you today. Have you done something different?
Yeah, I switched back to the wired headphone, to the wired
Wired microphone. Oh, much better. Thank you. Very clear. So I was actually referring to just an ordinary conversation, right? If one is or listening to the news on the radio, thinking about the meaning of the words spoken, does it involve any atasanya? Because there's no attribution. One's just thinking about the story that is being conveyed by the speaker.
Yes.
One's not concerned about who's talking or where it's coming from or whatever. So just thinking about the meaning of words being heard in any context. I'm not sure how that would involve atasanya.
And you think that it wouldn't be, if not atasanya, what would it be? Anatasanya?
I don't think I feel the need to give it a label of a particular kind of sanya. I mean, it's probably a kusala citta, but it's the question is whether there's any wrong view involved. That my interest is in whether there's any wrong view involved, because that's the connotation of atasanya, isn't it? That it's an aspect of wrong view.
Why wrong view? Why not mana? Or
when one's listening to the news on the radio.
Yeah, could be any. I think could be also be mana, not necessarily wrong view or it could be even dosa.
Attachment, or could be dosa.
Yeah. Be anything.
Could be mana, for example.
Could be wrong view. Could be.
Why would it be wrong view?
Why not? Why not wrong view?
Better. Maybe we can consider from the standpoint of the three vipalasas, when we know that there is ditthi vipalasa, there's citta and sanya vipalasa. But when there is sanya vipalasa and citta vipalasa, not necessarily ditthi vipalasa. So I think when it's as John was talking about in a day, the akusala, it's always sanya vipalasa and citta vipalasa, not necessarily this ditthi vipalasa. Only when there's ditthi, then there's atasanya. But there's no ditthi means no atasanya.
And I think it's impossible to just talk about that situation and know, because so much ditthasava, completely unknown, so much ditthi arising, so much ignorance and attachment. So that's why it can only be known now when it appears. Otherwise, one just knows there's a lot of ignorance, a lot of attachment, and bound to be many moments of conceit and ditthi, but unless it's appearing now to be known, then it's just thinking about the situation.
And I like to think Ajahn point when she talks about the atasanya and taking objects, experience as something, seeing something, hearing as something. I think what she's pointing at is that in a day, since there is no understanding of no anatasanya, no understanding, so there must be a lot of atasanya.
And I think that when the more understanding develops, the more apparent it is that as soon as there's seeing, then as soon as there's an idea of something seen, ditthi comes in so quickly, something there, something that's experienced, something that's heard. So it's so quick and common and ordinary.
Yes, definitely.
I'm interested in the moments, the moments that Ditti appears and can potentially be known or not. So I accept that there's a lot of Ditthasava as well as the other asavas all the time, but they are, as I understand it, at a low level that cannot be directly known. So that's we take that for granted. There's a lot of akusala at a low level that can't be directly known. But in terms of what can be directly known, there are obviously some moments that are wrong view in a day, some kind of thinking. And there are other moments that seem to me don't involve wrong view, that when one is going about one's normal activities, there's a lot of experiencing through the sense doors that there's no attribution of an essence or being to what is being observed through the sense doors.
And the subtlety of any reality, it's because of being taken for self, and which is why it cannot appear, because it's immediately my kilesa, my akusala.
Yeah, but what about the table and the chair?
Yeah, it's just the table. It's not a reality, is it? It's not a visible object or hardness or.
But absence of right understanding at the moment doesn't mean there's wrong view is present.
But it's not right view either.
Well, quite possibly neither right view nor wrong view. Just a label, just without
right.
attributing any being or essence to it. Not regarding it as anything that has some kind of intrinsic existence. Just, I know obviously there's solidity and so forth, but I don't know. What's the characteristic of wrong view?
Right.
Because we talk about Dhammas being known by their characteristics. What is the characteristic of wrong view?
Yeah, or is there wrong view now, as Ajahn would ask? Is there?
Well, that doesn't help to answer the question of what is the characteristic, does
well,
it?
because if my understanding the present moment, it's there for sure. You know, it has to be there because it's not being eradicated. So,
well, lots of things are there because they haven't been nothing's been eradicated at this stage. But the question is whether it's appearing, or whether it's there to the extent it can be recognized as such.
Yeah, that's what I meant. It's not the level of intellectual understanding. That's a different level. It reminds me of when Sariputta listening to Asaji, then Asaji didn't even finish to speak that Sariputta attained Sutapattimagga. So it's the accumulated understanding of direct understanding as which can perform the function of even answering the questions. So if you ask me what's the characteristic of wrong view, I don't know. I mean, I can read it, I can read it up, or I can repeat it, but I don't know.
Like even now, when seeing instantly the idea of someone there, people there, something there. So it's taking what is seen, the visible object, for something so quickly. And this isn't even the subtle asava, but it's that characteristic of taking for something there. That is the ditthi, different from just clinging without ditthi. But as soon as it's the idea of something that is seen now, it's ditthi that can be known.
Well, it depends what you mean by something there, but recognizing that that picture is Nina and that picture is Alberto doesn't necessarily have to involve something there. It just recognizes different things.
But there's the idea of someone, idea of oneself.
It depends what one's thinking about at the time, I suppose. One might be thinking about what the person is saying and no attention being paid to any essence or being or something there.
Yeah, I agree. We don't know. We just don't know.
Panya knows when it arises. When that characteristic appears, when it's the idea of something can be known.
Is it in the same way? I just came across that when there's no lobha, it doesn't mean, talking about realities, there is the Chaitasika alobha. And maybe in the same way, just theoretically, when there's no ditthi, it doesn't mean there's, what do you call it, samaditthi, panya?
Yeah, certainly not.
Just means there's no ditthi, no Chaitasika at that moment, doesn't it?
Yeah, Shanti, from the study of Intl.Dhamma, we know that there are only 4 akusala chittas with thitis. The rest are without.
So whenever there's any dosa, there's no ditthi. Whenever there's any moha without any lobha, there's no ditthi. And when there is lobha, it can be with or without ditthi. And also when there are other chittas which are not kusala or akusala, vipaka or kiriya chittas, then no ditthi.
Yeah, and I just wanted to raise that maybe theoretically it's easy to mistake when the opposite, like lobha, alobha, or dosa and adosa, they're completely different chaitasikas, so that if there's no lobha, it doesn't mean there is alobha. And if there's no dosa, it doesn't mean there is adosa.
So if we're talking about any kusala chittas, alobha has to arise with all kusala chittas. So if we're talking about akusala chittas, they arise with or without lobha, but all kusala chittas have to arise with alobha. But vipaka chittas and kiriya chittas, talking about ordinary kiriya chittas, they don't arise with alobha. Oh, well, except some vipaka chittas do. So we have to be specific. But anyway, alobha definitely arises with all kusala chittas. So at any moments of wise considering or understanding now, alobha must be there. At any moments of kindness, alobha is there. Helps a lot to understand when different cetasikas arise, like lobha or alobha or ditthi, because it helps to understand that they are just dhammas arising by conditions, not anyone there, not anyone who has alobha, not anyone who has lobha, just different dhammas that arise and fall away. So ditthi is just for a moment, like when thinking about the person seen, moments of ditthi, moments of attachment without ditthi, moments of just ignorance, not knowing anything, different chittas with different realities. So unless panya develops to understand what appears, it can never be known just by thinking about the story of what's seen. Which was the point Ajahn was making at the beginning when Nina brought up her point that we can talk about understanding dhammas and the impermanence, but what appears now, otherwise it's just all theory and in the book. So sound is heard now. It's just a reality, not anyone, not anything. Just that dhamma which is heard for a moment. And without the wise considering about different dhammas, for sure, whatever is seen, whatever is heard, whatever is thought about will be taken for something or someone continually.
So it's very good reminder that Ajahn is always stressing it's not someone or something, and we have to hear that again and again.
And it's now, not anyone there, not anyone that's heard. Does anyone else have any questions or topics they would like to bring up today? Jyotika or Mark or anyone?
Sarah, the practice of alms giving, food being given to the monks, why is that? I mean, the monks can't deal with money at all, can they? But is there a reason? What's the reason for that?
Others will be able to give better answers, but the point is that not to be attached to whatever one eats or whatever one is given, and just to live on the basic requisites, the food that is given to one without any selection and without being involved in the daily worldly life of cooking and shopping and so on, but just to live on whatever one is given at that time, yes, one cannot accept, the monk cannot accept money at all, only the basic requisites.
So that happens if there is nobody to give them food, then they will just die, or
they will
unless
they will move somewhere else where there are supporters.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
When
So
when you say the practice of almsgiving, you're actually asking about the practice of only eating what is given, what is received on alms round, or what? Are you asking about from the layperson's point of view or from the monk's point of view?
Well, I suppose it's from the monastic point of view that the monks get their food from the lay people, and sometimes the lay people rightly don't give food when the monks kind of go wrong. So I just wondered about that system, that it's a sort of two-way system in the sense that it protects Buddhism because the lay people don't have to give if things go wrong within the monastery, but also the monk has no attachment to food, and therefore, as Sarah was saying, it's not right for them to go out and buy the food. So yes, I suppose I was looking at it from the layperson's point of view. Why is it that they're supported by the layperson? There seems to be an advantage there as well. Is it part for does it help with the preservation of Buddhism that the lay people give food and requisites to the monks?
Well, you're asking about the system. You're looking at it as from the point of view rather as a system, and I think it's all speculation in that regard.
Right.
So you could take a lot of people take a very negative view of this because they say the monks are begging for food, which obviously is a misinterpretation of how it goes, because from the point of view of the Dhamma, the monks are offering the opportunity to the lay people to do something useful, to support the Dhamma and to support the keeping of the maintaining of the teaching and so forth, because the monks are the keepers of the teaching in its verbal or written form. And also they are in training. I wouldn't say monks have no attachment to food. I would say that part of their training is just to take what food is given and to eat it in the manner prescribed. It's not, they don't have attachment though, but they are undertaking a certain training in wholesomeness. And the lay people supporting that are also able to benefit if there's kusala citta involved in the offering of the food.
Yeah, I think that's the answer I was looking for, really. I think that's a good answer. Yeah, thank you.
And the task of the monks is to develop understanding and share that understanding, and by supporting the bhikkhus, then one is contributing to that development of understanding and sharing of the teachings when rightly spoken, of course. And as Jonathan said, when it's with kusala cittas and with understanding, that is what is most worthwhile. So it always comes back to the cittas.
Right. Yeah, that's good.
What were you about to say, Betty? I thought you were about to say something. Sorry, I can't hear you, Betty.
Sorry, yeah, Jonathan just said it. I was going to say it, and then Jonathan had already said it. It's a two-way process. On the one hand, the monks help society by teaching the Dhamma, by being there for somebody to come and ask for dealing with problems and so on. And then on the other hand, society helps the monks by providing food and the basic necessities for them.
Like you say, Alan, if there's no support or if there is a famine, like happened to the order of bhikkhunis in Sri Lanka many hundred years ago, then the order dies out. So it depends on the ongoing support. And also the understanding and sharing of true Dharma.
So what's the motive of becoming a monk?
To live like the Arahat in order to become an Arahat. That's their purpose, is complete renunciation of sense, desire.
Can they be enlightened the truth without becoming a monk?
Yes.
So what's the motive of being a monk?
I think that their accumulation is such that they can give up the lay life to devote themselves to that understanding. They have the accumulation to be able to just renunciate worldly life because they have no interest in it. So they can devote themselves to develop that understanding and also to preserve the Dharma in that sort of in the monastic order. Is that right?
That's good. So when one has such motive to become a monk, it means that that person understands his or the accumulation enough, right?
Yes.
We cannot understand as lay people anymore.
Yes.
So what does a monk do in a day?
They listen and consider the teachings and develop understanding of reality. And also,
as monk rules,
they should be doing those things.
yes, they abide by the monks' rules, which help and support them to become an Arahat.
Can a monk live like just the one who just live in a day to understand the truth, not mind about the situation or environment or fame and honor at all?
Yes, that's the purpose of the monk, is to understand reality no matter what the situation.
So a monk who understands the truth will teach the other to understand the truth, right?
Yeah, sorry, can you repeat that?
So if a monk just live as a monk without any understanding, no studying, no developing understanding of the truth at all, is that monk?
No.
So we can see that why people pay respect to monks, because according to their accumulation and the will to develop right understanding to become an arahata, because the people can become Sotapanna, Sakatagami, Anagami, and Arahata. As soon as that person has become Arahata, that person cannot live the lay people's life anymore.
Right.
It's what you care, the way that Arahata lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the goal for monk, not just to attain Sitapanna, Sakatagami, and Anagami, but to attain Arahataship.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
That's why his behavior has to be according to what Buddha laid down, the behavior for monks. Right?
Yes. Yes.
Can monk have money?
No.
Can monk have food at the 12?
No.
What for?
Because the food is just used for nutrition, not for entertainment, or not because of attachment. And it's not necessary to eat after 12 o'clock. It's best to eat before midday for their health.
And he has to remind oneself before eating, before any meal, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So
Excuse me, it's also for the monks to not put undue burden on the population for having to provide so much food for every single meal.
Okay.
So when we see any monk who lives according to Vinaya, who knows whether that monk is Arhata or not, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So monk cannot live like lay people at all.
Right. Yeah.
And must study Dhamma, not just for his sake, but for the other's sake, to survive the teachings, right?
Yes. Yes. They preserve the teachings.
What about monk who has the meditation center all over the world?
That's not being a monk. That's I suppose that's destroying the teachings.
In Tipitaka, it says that to live one's life is so very, very difficult. Is that true?
Yes. Yes.
So it has to be the understanding only which can lead to the life of monk, not by
Yes.
action or motive at all.
And
Just
would you say that it's the monk that destroys the teachings? Because although lay people have misinterpretation of the teachings that can harm the teachings, but it's the monk that destroys the teachings, because the monkhood is the center of the teachings. So when the monk goes wrong by having meditation center, that leads to the destruction of the teachings.
so amongst all lay people, anyone who have wrong understanding destroy the teachings, right?
Yes, I think that the monk would have more importance, so therefore that it's more destruction to the teaching when the monk goes wrong than the lay person, because one doesn't expect lay people to have such a good understanding. So the monk, it's more, if you like, wrong for the monks. But yes, the lay person also harms the teaching by propagating what is not correct.
That's why no matter amongst all lay people, what we say Buddhist has to understand the teaching, study the teaching, follow the teaching to understand what's right and what's wrong. Buddha didn't say that only monk can teach or only monk can survive the teaching, but the company of Buddhists or the Buddhists, no matter who, can study and helping the others to understand the teachings, not just the monk. Like in
Yes.
the Chitta, have discussion with monk because he was anagami. See?
Yes. Yes.
That again.
So how can we know whether that is monk or not monk?
By our own understanding of the teaching.
And
The
Vinaya,
more we understand about the teachings, then the more we can see whether somebody is a monk or not. So if we see monks dealing with money, then we know that they're not being a monk properly.
that's why to understand what's monk and who's monk, we have to understand Vinaya too, not only Dhamma.
Right, yes. So
now-
would you, so the understanding the Vinaya is also therefore useful for the lay person, even though they don't associate with monks, but it's good to understand the Vinaya as well as the Sutta and Abhidhamma.
So the lay people can have more than 5 or 8 or 10 precepts, whatever is suitable, that should be developed or understand. Otherwise, how can there be the let go the idea of self and akusala? Not just want to understand, but what about the manners, the way one live? Is it according to the develop the understanding to let go Dhamma? Even that person is not a monk, but with understanding, they can be letting go according to accumulation. On what way?
Right, okay, yeah, I understand that. So what, if we have a look at the 5 training precepts for lay people, in reality, nobody can observe the 5 training precepts by a self because they are conditioned to arise. So what is the purpose of those precepts? Because no one can observe them perfectly because each moment is conditioned.
And who can preserve perfectly?
Sotapanna.
See, that's why who knows one's accumulation? What moment can be the moment of wrong deeds because of accumulation, not letting go, ignorance, and the wrong idea of self yet. That's why one should be heedless to think that one cannot do that, one will not do that, according to conditions. But when there is right understanding, it prevents the habits of doing something as usual, to be letting go little by little about akusala.
Mm-hmm.
No rule, but understanding is there.
Right. I think there was a good example on the television recently. Will Smith, he lost his temper at the Oscars and he just hit somebody. And it was it was a good reminder of the danger of akusala, of unwholesomeness, that it can just arise any time. He just lost his temper.
And for Vipalasa, is there any question to Alberto?
No, there's no person.
I think she just asked Alberto if there's any question.
Oh, right.
About Vipalasa.
Yeah. Yes, Ajahn, you been start talking about the 4
Okay, is there Vipalasa now? Otherwise,
yes.
the use of talking about it without any understanding of the truth, whether is there Vipalasa right now. When there's understanding, it can be known at what moment there is Vipalasa, at what moment there's no Vipalasa. Different degrees as well. So, is seeing I or seeing is not I. This is to understand Vipassana too. Is seeing now I or me, or seeing is not I, it's not me.
Just one moment of
Seeing now, is it I or me who sees? To understand Vipassana, it has to be now too. So at the moment of akusala, there must be Vipassana, sanya Vipassana, citta Vipassana, and depending on whether there is Titi Vipassana arising with or not. But usually, akusala arises with Vipassana for sure, sanya Vipassana, and citta Vipassana.
Yeah.
Is that Vipassana just a moment ago? That's why even Vipassana has to be eradicated too. When there's no understanding, how can there be the eradication of ignorance about it, whether it's there or not? And it's not just knowing in words, but to understand the very moment, the nature of that which is there right then. For example, we talk about seeing and hearing, and there is hearing just a moment ago and even right now. Is there Vipassana? The question, the answer can be yes or no, but it has to be right.
Yes, it's, at the moment of seeing, there is no Vipassana, but
When it's akusala, it has to be Vipassana for sure.
yeah, but it follows.
But it's difficult to understand if there's no understanding of the different kinds of citta. So very subtle. This one cannot arise with Vipassana because so and so and so, and this one has to arise with Vipassana because it's just like that. To have the understanding of the truth that no one can do anything but can understand it as it is. That's why just any question right now, whether is hearing I or hearing is not I. Is that Vipassana? What moment? There can be more understanding precisely of each moment. That is the intellect understanding, so skillful in the intellect understanding, to understand the truth, to be truthful to the truth. This is the beginning of development of understanding. And it has to be panya, to know whether it's true and whether it's truthful to the truth or not. And we don't have to think of the others at all. Just only that very moment, not I, but that is the reality accumulated to condition such moments. Anatta, to have more confidence of anatthaness. Different thinking, different idea, all by conditions. And this will bring one not go further far away from this moment, but getting closer and closer to understand what is there as we have studied. Harnessing, it can be conditioned by understanding it's that which has to be known. And that which experiences hardness has to be known too. Otherwise, how can there be letting go the idea of self from ignorance, not understanding the truth of that? So ignorance will let go by understanding only, will be let go. Understanding only. No matter what we are talking about, sanya, vipallasa, or titi, and so on, or anything, it has to be a moment of understanding this. The Buddha taught for 45 years. Otherwise, who can understand the difference of one moment to another moment? The truth is there, hearing, sound, not known yet, or beginning to understand that it's the moment of understanding it little by little until there can be right understanding of that characteristic with direct awareness. The object is the same, the difference is right understanding. How much is there to condition understanding or just being reminded little by little to know that it's that which is there to be known, no matter what. Instantly, unexpectedly, it's that which can be known. See? Is there conditions enough to understand that it's that that should be known? Little by little, as our akusala has been developed or accumulated little by little from moment to moment in the past, years and years ago up to now. Seeing the danger of not understanding what is there when there's no careful considering about the words of the teaching, about the truth of each moment. So to be truthful to the truth is the beginning of panya to develop, to understand the truth of what is there as it is. What else can be known if it's not that which appears? How come this sound? Who knows? By conditions. And the experiencing, the hearing, and sanya, vipallasa, or not vipallasa.
Betty, one other point that we read about in the Vinaya about the rule about not eating after midday for the monks is because of not just the extra trouble for people and society, but for the reputation, because when people saw the monks were wandering around in the evening and collecting food and preoccupied with food all day long, it gives the monks a bad reputation. So people lose confidence in the value of the teachings and what is to be taught. So this was the reason that the rule was laid down in the first place. And it's a good reminder for us to be easy to please and to eat what we're given and not to be obsessed with food all day long, as so often happens.
In many ways, if the monks follow the Vinaya, they are an example for us.
That's why Ajahn said, we can follow as many rules as happens naturally or easily, but anyway, good to reflect on the different rules and the reasons for them, and the whole point of being easy to take care of, living easily and naturally with fewer and fewer wishes and more understanding. Because usually we're so obsessed about this diet or that diet, or what we will eat or what we won't eat, and eating whenever we choose. But the point is to live simply with whatever one is given.
Beautifully said.
Can I just? I thought I forgot to switch on the mic. Sorry. Just to finish the thing on Vipassana, you mentioned, Ajahn, the four kind of Vipassana. Taking what is dukkha for sukha was the first, I think, and can you also talk about the other three kind of Vipassana, Ajahn? Thank you.
Does anagami have akusala?
Yes, still have akusala, yes.
But no clinging to the sensuous object anymore, right? But to be being is not easy to let go, because even there's no clinging to sensuous object, but clinging to be being. And when there's no domanassa anymore, unpleasant feeling, mental unpleasant feeling. What about the feeling of anagami in a day? No such feeling, but there can be pleasant feeling, object of clinging when it's pleasant, isn't it? And for anagami who can develop jhana and have such unexpected feeling, not just being pleasant from the sensuous object as one has used to be or in one's life, but that's just very special. And for anagami, that can be clinging to such feeling. There is still vipassana, that even that which arises, no matter how free, how pleasant it is not there anymore, and it cannot arise to be as such anymore at all in samsara. Seeing the danger of what is just that which arises to experience and then gone from life to life. Panya is strong enough to see the danger of sankhara in order to let go all kinds, no matter how pleasant it is. That's why one can understand that there is attachment to different levels of the pleasant things. And at that moment, it's not sanya vipassana with the sensuous object, but there is still the sanya vipassana of the pleasant feeling for anagami, and to live that pleasant life without clinging to sensuous object and no unpleasant feeling at all. That's why it's not easy to attain arahataship at all. It has to be stronger and stronger panya.
And before for the Sakadagami, there is still also for other
no ditti, no wrong view at all. So sanya vipassana, when akusala citta arise, but there cannot be condition for wrong view to take that which is not permanent as permanent anymore. That which is taken for atta anymore. because of the understanding at level of becoming a Sotapanna and Sakadagami, develop to the degree of Anagami. So one can see how much clinging is there accumulated. It cannot be eradicated as soon as one attains enlightenment at the first stage. And right understanding understand the accumulation. That there is the accumulation for being attached to sensuous object. But no wrong understanding at all. Like one likes the fake diamond, even there is the understanding that it's not the real one, but it looks so much like. We can condition moment of attachment. And right understanding knows, that's why it develops by more understanding what is there in life, no matter what, coming and going by conditions, until condition is enough to let go. The attachment to the very close feeling, attaching to the sensuous object, to be more fine than Sotapanna, to be Sakadagami, and to be Anagami before becoming Arahata. No kilesa at all. At all. After it has been accumulated years and years ago. Otherwise, how can there be the gratitude or respect to the Buddha, the enlightened one, who developed parami so great to attain being Buddha, the enlightened one, and share his understanding, help them to understand the truth too. How kindness, how compassion, how wisdom, to teach everything in life to be known as it is, until it's time for passing away, because his teachings are well known and can survive as long as people can understand it. If there is no understanding of the truth, because it's so very subtle, no one can understand the teachings of the Buddha at all. How subtle it is, because what is there unknown now can be known clearer and clearer and clearer, until it's conform with each word of the Buddha. So true, no doubt, more confidence of the triple gems.
Such a long way.
Right understanding is developing now, little by little. Who knows how much is worn away? So very, very little, in a moment, in a moment, in a moment, until it becomes so very confident, very strong, very firm confidence of the truth that it's now, it can be known little by little. To be truthful to the truth.
The truth is, that's why that's why it's so subtle, because it's true. Not easy at all. as what is conventional.
And it has to be Panya only, which can understand the subtlety of what is there now. To have confidence of it's there by conditions and it's gone because there is other reality instantly after, from moment to moment, different ones. No one there at all. Ignorance is there with vipallasa. Imagine like living in the world of darkness, how dark it is. Even it's there, it's not known as it is.
The darkness of ignorance, yes.
So one can understand what is meant by Panya as a light, lighter than any light. Because no matter what and where and when, it can understand the truth that Buddha has enlightened and taught the way to understand the truth, to become enlightened, the truth, because the truth is the truth, being truthful to the truth. And without Panya, can they be truthful to the truth? Without any understanding of the truth?
No light, without Panya, no. Must be the self without Panya there.
And I think it's time to say Sawadee Ka.
Sawadee Ka, Jan.
Sawadee ka, Ajahn. Thank you very much.
Sawadee ka, Jan. Sawadee
Session next week. Ajahn is going to look now. Ajahn is going to look now on Sunday. So it's a session next week.
ka.